Hi, welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. This is Dianne, your lactation consultant.
And I'm Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder. And today's episode is brought to you by Rumble Tough. The Rumble Tough Breeze is a top-of-the-line breast pump with a rechargeable battery that fits in the palm of your hand. And today's episode is also brought to you by Fairhaven Health. If you leak breast milk, you can now stop losing it to your breast pad and instead collect it to add to your stash. But we will hear more from our sponsors a little later. But you can head to badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. Check out our sponsor page if you ever need anything. See if you can give them any of your business because they make this podcast possible. And while you're there, scroll down, enter your email address, and we'll send episodes straight to your inbox every week. And don't leave without checking our shop page. We like our designs. Please look at them. And now we are on Patreon. And we would love to have you there. We're having a blast. We really are. We have mini podcasts, extra episodes, live Zoom hangouts. We have Revolution Parenting podcast episodes being published over there. We have, you get stickers when you sign up. We send you stickers. Yeah, it's really fun. We hope you join us there. And I just want to give a couple of shout outs to some of our new patrons, which I can't remember when the last time I did it.
We're not very good about that.
I know. I don't keep track of that. It's fine. I'll just name the names. We have Shannon S. We have Jennifer B. We have Megan B. Teresa. Ours are some of our newest. So welcome. We're so happy to have you. And you can find the link in the show notes under this episode from wherever you're listening from, or at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. You can find us. Find the link.
It's a nice little community. It's a nice community. Yeah.
And you could check out all the there's different tiers, there's different benefits. So you can check them out at the link. And we are still hosting our ongoing giveaway of reviews. Send us screenshots and your address to badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. No, badassbreastfeedingpodcast@gmail.com. And we'll send you a goodie bag of stickers and cards. And we are going to be in Detroit very soon.
Yes.
Like next weekend, I think. On May 7th, we will be at Babies and Bumps in Detroit. So if you're in the Detroit area, please come and see. We are going to put the link to the tickets, because it's also all over the country. We'll put a link to the locations. We will be in Detroit, and we hope that you'll come and see us at our table. And now Dianne has our review of the week.
I started listening to this podcast when I was pregnant. Yay! Good for you. And then started listening constantly when I had my daughter and started breastfeeding. I would pop in my headphones and breastfeed my daughter in the middle of the night and just feel like I was listening to a conversation with my breastfeeding besties. I have learned so much about breastfeeding through this podcast. My daughter has been a bottle refuser, so I've been breastfeeding more than anyone else I know. And I'm so thankful to have had this podcast on this journey. My little girl is about to be 6 months old, and we have no plans of stopping anytime soon. Well, congratulations to you, because that is amazing. And thank you for listening to us while you were pregnant. And we just did an episode that came out right before this one about constantly nursing babies. And we didn't talk about the bottle refusers. We should have mentioned that some babies don't want anything other than the breast. So don't feel like, it sounds like she's fine with it. She's like, I just breastfeed more than anybody else I know. So it happens sometimes. Sometimes you get that. And congratulations, because 6 months is a great milestone. Those first 6 months can be rough. So you did it. Congratulations to you. And thanks for bringing us on your journey with you. It was a lot of fun.
I always think about people who are listening to us in the middle of the night.
I know.
Hi.
I know it. I wish I had that in the middle of the night. I didn't. I used to get up and watch TV. Because my ex-husband was sleeping. So I would get up and watch Nick at Night. Do you remember Nick at Night?
Yeah.
I think I watched like every single episode of The Fresh Prince. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good show.
Yeah, it was a good show. So if anybody is listening, you're probably like, I have zero idea what she's talking about. Nick at Night. Nickelodeon used to do Nick at Night and show all these old like sitcoms. So that's what I would do. I'd get up and watch TV in the middle of the night. I almost looked forward to it. It was like quiet and nobody to bother me, nobody needing me for anything. It was nice.
I could totally see that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice. But today we are going to talk about breastfeeding support and how to be a breastfeeding support person. Maybe not even how to be. So this came about, I'm all over the place here. But this came about because I got an email, and I should have tried to find it, but it was a little while ago. So it was an email from somebody, and she was feeling a little bit sad and a little bit frustrated because she was really trying to be a breastfeeding support person for somebody in her life who had just had a new baby, and she was really trying to be that person for her. And, the doctor would give different information, and, the person just ended up going to formula instead, because that's what, kind of the path that the pediatrician led her on. And, this person that was emailing me, she was just so sad. And she was like, can you please do an episode on how to be a breastfeeding support person? Because it's a lot. Like, it's hard. And that's kind of how we came about this episode. And I know Abby's had a lot of people contact her too about the same type of thing.
Yeah. People saying like, yeah, I have a friend who's trying to breastfeed, but her doctor is telling her this, and she's in Facebook mom groups, and they're telling her this. And I just want her to have like the good information, and, what can I do? Or do you have any advice, or do you have anything I can pass on to her? And it's such a difficult situation, right? Because sometimes, I mean, it's a balance, because at the end of the day, it's really not our business.
Yeah.
What people do. But sometimes people come to you for advice. Sometimes they don't. And you can just see, you can see them kind of struggling, well, they told me this and they told me that. And then maybe you want to say, well, that's not really true. Or maybe you do say that's not really true. Like, there's so many different scenarios. So, or maybe they're like, what do I do? What do I do? And then you're trying to, I have a friend who's like, what do I don't know what to do about this. I don't know what to do about this. And then I'm like, well, maybe you could try this, or just do this, whatever. And then she's like, no, I don't know. And then like a month later, she'll be like, you know what? I've decided I'm just going to do this. And it's the thing I said like a month ago. That's Amanda.
Yeah.
Amanda.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. So sometimes people just need to come about it on their own.
That's very true.
Let's take different scenarios. Maybe that's how we can do this episode.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, first of all, I want to say too, because we do have a lot of people that reach out to us that say, because of the podcast, because of my breastfeeding journey, I've decided to become a lactation consultant. Maybe sometimes it's a lactation consultant, sometimes it's a lactation counselor, sometimes it's just a breastfeeding support person, whatever, a CLC, whatever people kind of like decide to take a path, because they're like, I really enjoyed my breastfeeding journey. I want to help other people. I've been an IBCLC for a long time now, for like 15-ish years. And I've seen thousands of families, thousands of babies. People still don't listen to me. Like, I don't want anybody to think that like, oh, now I'm a CLC, I have education behind me. When I talk to people about breastfeeding, they're going to listen and it's going to be good, and I'm going to be able to help them. Still sometimes isn't enough.
Yeah. I'm going to be able to show them the way. And they'll follow me because now I have letters after my name.
Right. Still sometimes is not enough.
Not really.
It's still like all the like the time that I've been doing this, still sometimes is not enough.
Yeah.
And that is really hard. But one of the things to remember is you can't work harder than the person you're trying to help. Like, you can't, if this is not something that they really want for themselves and their baby, you can't make them want it. Like, that's really important to kind of try to remember. It's sad. Like, I feel sad for those babies, and I feel sad for those parents, because they're starting out and something is in the way for them. right? Like something is stopping them from being confident about this. And I mean, and I can be one to tell you, like, I'm not confident about much in my life, let me tell you, but I felt really good about being able to breastfeed my kids. And somebody doesn't feel like that.
Yeah.
And they feel and they just don't think they can do it. And it made them stop. And I really feel bad for those families because they just didn't have, I don't know. It's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's nothing you can do.
No, there's nothing you can do.
Nothing.
It really, sometimes it's cultural, sometimes it's their doctor, sometimes it's just them, sometimes it's their partner, sometimes it's their mother, like, who's telling them, no, this isn't, you gotta, your baby's eating too much, you don't have enough milk, or your baby's doing this, it's not right, or your baby is crying, they must have a milk allergy, or your baby's, blah, 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 shouldn't be behaving like this, so it must be the breastfeeding. Like something is making them pull back from breastfeeding. And it's not you, right? The person that's trying to help them.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's good. Like the first scenario I think would be somebody who well, let's just start with the like absolute extreme. Like they have no interest in breastfeeding.
Right.
They're going to use formula. They always said they were going to use formula. I have a friend who said, I never wanted to have anything to do with that. I wasn't comfortable with it. Like a lot of maybe like some body issues, and it could be for any kind of reason, whatever. She was just like, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to do it. Never wanted to do it. Not going to happen. And you might be, because I know when I first had babies, I was in this place where I was just like, breastfeeding for everyone, it needs to happen for everyone because it's the best thing. And, the whole world needs to do it. And I've found this, so I want everyone else to find it too. And like, that's just, not how, and not everybody's on your, on your ship.
Right.
And if somebody really just doesn't want it, then it's one of those things where you have to kind of just suck it up and keep your mouth shut. And that's hard.
It is hard.
Because you're like, oh, I really want breast milk for this baby. But like, let's be real. The baby will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
We have practically an entire country, a whole generation almost was raised on formula, and we all know, the benefits of breastfeeding. We all know the risks of formula feeding. And that's just it's not there for some people. And, it's also, we live in a culture where like that is the norm. And, if you're going to go and say, well, you shouldn't be doing this. And, I really think that that's a bad decision. Like it's just not going to float with someone. You might end up with like, not a friend anymore.
Yeah. They're going to make their own decision.
Yeah. They're going to make their own decision. And they might be making that decision based off of very real feelings and experiences. Like my friend was just like, I'm not going to have a baby on my breast. That doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel, she said, I'm uncomfortable with that. Because her body was, very sexual to her, or maybe people have like histories of sexual abuse, and like some people find, so much healing and growth in breastfeeding, and other people don't. Other people don't want that they don't want that. And it's not just people who have been, victims of sexual abuse.
Right.
It could be anybody, who's just like, I don't, that's not the relationship I have with my breasts. That's not the relationship our culture has with breasts. And that's just how it is. And that's how it is for some people. And that's their decision. And, that's their decision.
I had a situation just very recently where there was a preemie baby, very preemie, and the family opted to not continue breastfeeding. And I was not helping this family. This was something that somebody else was telling me about. And I said, that's sad because the baby was such a preemie that they really needed, could have really used the milk. And the mother gave the excuse of, oh, the baby was like allergic to my milk or something like that. It was like something that wasn't really a thing. Right.
Yeah.
And we knew it sounded very like, just kind of like, oh, this is what's going on kind of thing, kind of, and we knew it was kind of just, all right, that's probably not the reason,
Yeah.
and, the person that knew the family said, she's kind of one of those people who really wants somebody else to be doing a lot of the work. It was more of a cultural thing, where she wanted the partner to be able to help more. And if she was doing the feeding, then that partner couldn't help with that as much. So that was what, we kind of think was going on. And it's like, there's a lot of cultural stuff too that can be happening with people's families. And we just don't know. But one of the situations that is really hard is when you have somebody, and I had this happen recently too, where one of the moms that I've worked very closely with, her sorority sister, who, you're close with those people, right? Like you're close. And she's like, she was my little sister, and, and I really tried to help her. And I told her up front, like, look this is, I will support you. I will help you. I will tell you what I do. I will give you, as much support and help as you want to. But at the end of the day, you're going to do what you want to do, and you're going to do what's going to be right for your family.
Right. And
she didn't stick with it and made a lot of excuses as to why she didn't. And, every time my friend tried to help her, it just didn't, she didn't want to hear that, she didn't want to hear it. She wanted to complain, but she didn't want the help.
Yeah. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. People should be allowed to have their space to vent without you swooping in as like the superhero who's going to fix their problems. Like, think about all the times that you want to vent. How much we talk about we want to vent, and we don't want people to be like, well, you should just wean and give us their unsolicited advice. That goes for us too. Like, we can't just be swooping in with our advice because we think our advice is better.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just need to vent.
I always try to say to people, like, does this feel manageable? Especially if the baby's not feeding well, and you go somewhere for help and they say, oh, you have to triple feed and you have to do this and you have to pump 8 times a day and you have to, like, that's enough to make anybody run in a different direction. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot. And I always try to make sure, like, what feels manageable to you? Like, what do you feel like you can do? Because sometimes it's a lot. Like, if you have a baby that's feeding well, sometimes that can feel like it's a lot. And then if you have a baby that's not feeding well, that's a whole different story.
Yeah. Let's take a break.
Okay.
We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and we have more things to say.
Yeah.
We were like, do we have enough to fit an episode of this?
I think so.
And now I have so much to say. We'll be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by Rumble Tough. The Rumble Tough Breeze is a top-of-the-line breast pump with a rechargeable battery that fits in the palm of your hand. The powerful motor lasts 2,000 plus hours and has a 2-year warranty. The memory button allows you to record your most effective pumping session and recall it every time you wish. Combine the Breeze with the Rumble Tough Go Cups and you're pumping hands-free and on the go. Every Rumble Tough pump user qualifies for free pumping support with an IBCLC. Because they care, each pump comes with a manual handle kit to convert your electric pump into a manual pump at no cost. You should not have to figure it out all alone. Let the experts help you get the support you deserve. Additionally, every pump box includes a flange fit ruler so you can determine which of the 15 flanges they offer will fit you best. Nipple size does matter. Check out their entire line at rumbletough.com. That's RUMBLETUFF. And rumbletough.com, and use code BADASS for 20% off of your purchase. And today's episode is also brought to you by Fairhaven Health. Do you leak breast milk? Have you ever thought about how much breast milk you're soaking up into your breast pads and throwing away? What if you could catch that milk and add it to your stash instead? The Milky's Milk Saver allows you to do just that. Slide the Milk Saver into your bra or tank top on the non-nursing side to catch the letdown while you breastfeed. People are adding ounces upon ounces to their stash on a daily basis. Thousands and thousands of breastfeeders have discovered this product. It holds 2 ounces of milk, it's comfortable to wear, and it's reusable. You might be thinking that you don't leak very much. That is what most people say before they have actually used the Milk Saver. You will be shocked at how much milk you collect, at how much liquid gold you were throwing into the garbage. This milk can be used to beef up your stash, to make breast milk keepsakes for baths, for breast milk popsicles, lotions, soaps, you name it. Breast milk is worth saving. Check out the Milky's Milk Saver at fairhavenhealth.com. That's FAIRHAVEN health.com, and use code BADASS for 15% off of your purchase. And the sponsors and our promo codes can be found in our show notes under this episode, wherever you're listening from, or at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. And at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com, you'll also find all of our other episodes and information about scheduling your very own one-on-one online lactation consultation with Dianne. So now we have another, I want to go through different scenarios. So now we have a scenario where somebody has not asked. Again, this person has not asked for advice, but they are struggling to breastfeed. So the first scenario, the person was formula feeding. They had no problems. They were just doing it, didn't ask for your advice. They're comfortable with their decision. Now, they still haven't asked you for advice, but you can see them trying to breastfeed, and they are struggling to breastfeed, and they are talking to you about their struggles. So what do we do? It's really difficult because they haven't asked, which I know is not a situation where a lot of times people don't ask for advice and we give it anyway.
Right.
So maybe
that's a hard one.
Yeah, it is hard because, you really, really want to say something, and maybe you do. Maybe you just start saying all these things. Maybe you start saying your doctor's wrong. You should listen to the Badass Breastfeeding podcast. They're the ones who know what they're talking about. Here's an article from Kelly Mom. Like, this is all wrong. Now this person might be so overwhelmed. First of all, trying to figure out breastfeeding, listening to a doctor. Now they have somebody saying the complete opposite of what they thought. And they might just feel like crawling into a hole.
Yeah.
And that's really hard. And so what I suggest in this situation and in many, many situations is listening to somebody, and when you have something to say or you have some advice, just ask. Just say, would you like some advice, or would you like to just vent? You can just ask them. Mm-hmm. I've been through this and I can offer some advice, or if you would rather just vent, that's fine. I can also just listen. And that will go a long, long way to you not violating the boundaries of this person. Because it's very easy to do, right? When you just start saying, well, that's wrong. You shouldn't be doing that. Your doctor's wrong. Your mother-in-law is wrong. I mean, your mother-in-law is probably wrong. But I
remember one time being, and this is years and years and years ago, pre-children even, but I was living on the other side of the country and having some kind of issue, and my mother being like, well, I just don't know what to tell you, Diane. And I was like, I really don't want you to tell me anything.
Yeah, please don't.
I just want to vent about it. That's all. Because it's sometimes you really have to say that, but it doesn't hurt to say, like Abby said, do you want some, can I help you with this? Or are you just, do you just want to complain? Because that's okay too. I'll listen.
Yeah.
And maybe they've had 18 people trying to help them already, and they just don't want that. They just have too many people in their ear.
Exactly. If there is somebody who's already working with, because we get this a lot, somebody has worked with 3 lactation consultants, an occupational therapist, a chiropractor, their pediatrician, there is so much already going on with them that even if you feel like you have the right information and this person has the wrong information, it's not going to make much of a difference. All they're going to do is drown. They're just going to become buried in it. And it's unfortunate. My cousin had a baby, and she was like, reached out to me. She was having some issues. And I said, I can find a lactation consultant for you. Like, I was like, I can find a lactation consultant and send them to your house. I'm the badass breastfeeder. I was like, I can make this happen. I will find one in your city and we'll send them to your house. And she was like, well, I just don't have a lot of time, to do that. And it was really, really hard for me not to be like, you have to do this. This is what's going to make or break the breastfeeding. Right. You have to figure this out now or it's just going to get worse. And, she just didn't want to do it. She didn't want to do that. I mean, I think she wanted to breastfeed if it was going to work out. But if it was going to take all of this legwork to make it work, she just wasn't into it. And, I really had to just suck it up and accept it.
Yeah, it's her choice.
Yeah, I can't tell her she's wrong because she's not. That's what was right for her.
And again, a lot of that comes from the expectation, right? The expectation that your baby is going to behave a certain way, or that breastfeeding is going to be easy, or that your baby's just going to nurse and be done, and they're not going to want to be on you constantly. And that's a lot. If you weren't expecting it, not a lot of people want to deal with that. And that your baby is going to be not going to cry a lot. They're not going to be fussy. The expectations are so skewed a lot of the time. So if you are somebody who is like, if you have a friend that's pregnant or, whatever, encourage them to get a lot of prenatal information. Encourage them to get a lot of breastfeeding information now, because it can really make a difference in how they think of their breastfeeding relationship after the baby's born. If that makes sense. And that's not intrusive to be like, you know what? Like, here, listen to this podcast, or you know what? Meet with a lactation consultant before the baby's born. That was super helpful. It could be really helpful for you to do that. That sometimes that kind of stuff, or this is what I did, prior to, and see if that's, helpful. So sometimes getting them information before is really, really helpful.
Yeah. Before the storm hits.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And so then we have another scenario, right? We have a scenario of somebody who is really struggling with breastfeeding and they're asking for help. And now you might be like, oh yeah, it's on. Now I can share with them all the stuff I learned on the Badass Breastfeeding podcast. All right, girl, sit down. I'm about to give you, breastfeeding 101. Here it goes. So just chill out a little. We might need to chill out a little because, we need providing information in digestible pieces is really important at this time, that newborn time. And so, maybe you might want to say like, how would you like me to help you? Would you like me to just talk to you? Would you like me to send you a couple episodes of the Badass Breastfeeding podcast? Would you like some articles to read from Kelly Mom, specific to the things that you're going through? But remember, you're not an IBCLC. So you don't want to be like, oh, here, let me check your baby for tongue ties. Here, I know I listened to that episode, and so now I can diagnose that. You might need to just say, here, I think what would be really helpful is to find an IBCLC. And I would love to help you do that. Because that's another thing is like reaching out to somebody you don't know. Some people are just like real, they don't feel like doing it. It feels like too much work. Yeah. So that would be a really great way. Say, you know what? I'll find you a lactation consultant.
I usually ask, like sometimes people get, reach out to me and be like, I wanted to gift your services to somebody. Yeah. I'm like, okay. Like, are they into that? Do they want, is this something that, they're willing to do? Do you want me to reach out to them? Like, do you want them to reach out to me? Usually I'm like, have them reach out to me because I don't want to be a pusher either. There's some people like, oh, my friend really needs you. Great. Have them reach out to me. because, give them my information. They can text me, they can call me, they can email me, whatever they want to do. But I don't want to be I don't want to be forceful.
Right.
I don't want to push it onto them.
You can't force your services onto people.
Yeah.
And, this is what people do a lot too. They'll be like, hey, my friend was at a restaurant and they told her she had to breastfeed in the bathroom or whatever. And we want a nurse in, and I'm like, okay, who is this person? And are we sure that that she's cool with this? Because like not everybody wants to create a huge media storm with their name in the middle of it. Like that's just not what everybody wants. And sometimes we think like, oh, you have to, you need to fight back. It's your responsibility to fight back. Okay, just calm down. It's not your responsibility to take on the establishment all the time. Like, and I would say like, if you can put me in touch with this person, then I can find out exactly how they would like to proceed with this.
Yeah, they might not want a lot of fanfare around them.
They might not want, a nurse in with the media showing up. Like, not everybody wants that.
I remember there was one time, there's like me and a couple of other friends that, we've known each other for a very long time. Like before we were even married, we've known each other. And one lives here, one lives in a different state. And she came to visit. This was years ago, like after she had a baby, and she had the baby with her. And there was a bunch of us sitting in the room and the baby needed to nurse. And my one friend was like, oh, you can just nurse the baby here. None of us care. It's fine. And it's like, she might not be comfortable with that.
She might care. Yeah.
Like she might, but my other friend was so focused on like, it's okay. None of us mind. It's totally fine. It's totally fine if you want to nurse the baby. We don't mind at all. You can absolutely just nurse the baby right here. And she was kind of like, you could tell like she was like deer in a headlight kind of thing, and it was like, you don't have to nurse a baby here. You're totally fine to go somewhere else if you want to. Like, it's totally whatever your call is. Yeah. So like sometimes it's over, like sometimes we're just overly supportive. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm like, we get it. Like I was there too. I was like, if anybody followed my blog 12 years ago or 11 years ago, whatever it was, I was like the most gung-ho, like breast is best. Y'all are wrong. Formula's poison. I mean, it was like the internet was just an extremely chaotic and hopping place.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I realize now that if you want to really, what we really want is people to feel empowered, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want our friends to be happy. We want our friends to, to feel good and confident about what they've done. We want people to feel empowered. But not everybody is empowered in the same ways that we are. Empowerment is truly, truly about somebody having the information that they need to make their own decisions. It's not about them making the decision that you want them to make. Like, this makes me feel so empowered. Like, I really want you to have that. Okay, but that might not be how they feel. You might need to dig a little bit more and find out what really makes them feel empowered and how you can help.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, I don't know if you have any more scenarios, but I had one that I definitely wanted to bring up.
I don't have any more.
Okay, good. You've got somebody that you've been helping. They've been asking for your advice. They're asking for your advice. You give them your advice. You give them information. You're giving them Kelly Mom. You're giving them articles. You're leading them in the direction. You're, really trying hard to give them support in all the ways. And
you're just being the greatest friend ever.
You're like advocate. Totally, this is what's going on. And maybe it is a tongue tie situation. Maybe it's a milk protein allergy situation. Maybe who knows what the situation is, but the pediatrician gives different advice. And the situation that I'm thinking of was a tongue tie situation. And, the pediatrician said, this is nothing that you need to take care of. It's fine. you don't need to do anything with your baby, even though the baby was not nursing well because of it. And they opted to listen to the pediatrician. And this parent or this other, the friend felt very slighted, I think. And I gave them all the info. I gave them all the information. I told them why it was going to be, detrimental for them to get it fixed and, all this stuff. And they opted to listen to the pediatrician. And there's nothing you can do about that. There really isn't. Like, you gave them all the information. And like Abby said, like you give them the info. They made an informed decision based on what the information that they had. And that's what they chose to do. And you might not think it's the right decision, but they do. So there's not a lot you can do about that.
Right. Yeah. That's really hard too.
It is. It is. It's hard. And I've seen that happen, like, in the pediatric office that I worked in.
Yeah.
And it's like, I had plenty of why am I here today days.
Yeah.
But ultimately it's, it comes down to be the family's decision. And they make a decision based on what they think is best for themselves and their baby. And, it might not be the decision that you would make, but it can feel like a lot. And I've had other lactation professionals reach out to me and be like, I gave them all the info and everything. And, the pediatrician just doesn't agree. And they're listening to the pediatricians like yeah. And that's why I said in the beginning, like, I've been doing this a long time. It still doesn't give me any clout.
Right.
But, when at bottom line, all you can do is share information and they're going to make the decision that they want to make. And that's an informed decision. And that's how I feel like when we talk about formula feeding versus breastfeeding. If you give parents the information, if they have all the information and they choose to, like your friend that you had, choose to formula feed for whatever reason, she made an informed decision.
Exactly.
She had the information. She made an informed decision. And that's all we can ask for.
And you can, and because we can say like, well, if you have all the information, if you're truly making an informed decision and you really do have all the information, then you are obviously going to pick breastfeeding. But that is not true. People just might not. And you might not understand it. We might not understand it. And that's just too bad for us.
Right. They made an informed decision based on what's best for their family.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with you not giving them the right information or with you not missing something. Because sometimes you'll be like, what am I missing? What did I not do? Nothing. You did all the right things.
A different decision than you did. And that's, that's how life goes.
Yeah. And that's okay. And that's
and you can be happy for them. You just be like, okay, you made a decision and you're happy with it. And that's how they feel empowered. And that's really cool for them.
And that's why being a support person sometimes is difficult.
Yeah.
But I mean, sometimes your kids aren't going to make the decisions you want them to make either.
No.
Or your partner. But, it's easy with your partner. You can just be like, look, I'm not giving you my advice. I know. I'm not giving you my advice anymore. Don't ask me.
Yeah.
You do the opposite every single time. I'm not saying anything. You can say that to them, but, it's hard to say that to somebody else.
Yeah.
You're an idiot. So if there's anything we can do to support you with us, let us know. Because if you are a lactation support person and you are like kind of feeling burned out because of this stuff, because it can make you feel burned out. We're there for you.
That's how it goes working with people. It's hard.
Yeah, it is. It's hard. But, we got you. We got your back. We understand.
Well, thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.